I'm Charlene, and today we are going to make a crepe paper rose. These are a couple of examples, and it might look a little bit intimidating, but it's not really that scary, I promise. So first I'm going to go through a few of the materials that you'll need to use if you're going to make some of these with me, and then we'll get started making our roses. Alright, the first thing we're going to talk about is the paper. And so there are a few different kinds of crepe paper. The kind that we're going to use today is, it's 180 gram, and this is Italian 180 gram paper. The cool thing about crepe paper, and it comes in a roll like this. I've cut some pieces off of it, but it comes in a roll, and it has little machine marks. It also has this creping in it, which is why it's called crepe paper. This isn't the kind of crepe paper that you would buy like for a birthday party, for a streamer or something. This is a lot more substantial. It's almost like fabric. So here's a little strip of it that I cut off earlier. And you can see that it really, really stretches, and I'm pulling really pretty hard on this, and it's not ripping. Now you can rip this, but it's really pretty sturdy stuff. And it's really fun to work with because you can bend it and shape it, and it makes great petal flower shape. So it's great for making flowers. But this is 180 gram. You can find this online. You can find it on Amazon. There are different companies that make crepe paper. There's tons of different colors. You can paint it and make your own colors. It's just a really fun thing to use. This I wanted to show you as well this is another kind of crepe paper. This is 90 grams, so it's a lot thinner than the 180 that we'll be using today. It makes much more delicate flower petals. Here's an example. This little rose here was made with this paper. So it's just a little bit more delicate. It's a little bit trickier to work with because it can rip a little bit easier. And then this is really fine crepe paper that you can also use to make flowers, but this is really, really thin. It's thicker than tissue paper, but really thin. It doesn't stretch quite as much, but it's also really cool for making different kinds of petals. But for today, we're going to be using this 180 gram paper. It's sturdier and it's easier to work with to shape your petals. Alright, so a few of the other things that we're going to need. We're going to need a pattern, and I'm going to have a PDF for you that you can print out and cut out a pattern. I just made this is just like some like typing paper that I cut out my little shapes. So our petals for our rose, you can see they kind of look like little balloons, but we'll have those that we're going to cut out. You also will need some wire. This is floral wire. This one is probably about 18 or 20 gauge wire. This is it's fabric or paper covered, and that just makes it a little bit easier for things to stick to. I've also got a pipe cleaner, and I'm just going to use that because I'm going to make my stem a little bit thicker. I also had some thinner wire. This is probably like 24 gauge, I'm guessing. This is also paper covered wire. This is going to be for our leaves. So you just need some thinner wire and then some thicker wire for your stem. I've got wire cutters to cut my wire. I've got a cotton ball for the center of our rose. This is floral tape. I've got brown here, but any kind. Green is sometimes easier to find, but I've got brown that I'm going to be using for this particular flower. You need a scissors. You need something that is round. This is like a little dowel, but you could also use a pencil or a skinny paintbrush or anything. You could even use some of your wire. You'll need some glue, and I like to use hot glue. I've got this big scary glue gun. That's my friend here. Hot glue is nice because it it will glue really fast, and then it dries and you don't have to hold your flower so much while it's being made. But you can also use just some craft glue. You just will need to hold your flower longer each time you put on a petal. But sometimes craft glue is a little less scary because with hot glue you definitely can burn yourself. You can use high temp or low temp hot glue. Just be really careful because you can burn your fingers. All right, I think that's everything that we need to get started. So I've got my 3 sizes of petals here, and I need 5 of this smallest size, 4 of this kind of medium size, and then 4 of this bigger size. Now on your heavy crepe paper here, I'm not sure if you can see on here, but there are these lines, and they're about every 2 inches or so running this direction across the paper where it went through the machine to get this creping made on it. And we want to kind of avoid those in the main part of our petal because you can see them after you make your flower, obviously. So when I cut my pieces out, I'm going to cut a strip down here. So my line is running right here. The other thing is you need to have your crepe paper, you want your petal to be running this direction. All the creping lines are going this way, and you want your petal to go up and down that way too, so that it'll be able to stretch and make a nice petal shape. So I'm making sure that that machine line is right here, and I'm putting my petal up further to the top. Now, if you are more comfortable cutting one petal at a time, you certainly can. If you want, you can fold it over. You can do 2, 3, 4, as many as you're comfortable cutting. So I'm going to cut 2 petals out right here. And the great thing about flowers is that flowers are a nice, organic, natural thing, and so petals don't have to all be perfect or all the same size or all the same shape. If your pattern slips a little bit, it's probably still going to be perfectly fine. So I'm going to cut out 5 of those of that size. I'm going to cut out 4 of these middle size, and you can just put them where you need them. Cut out your 4. Same with this bigger shape. You're going to cut out 4 of those as well. And I've already cut these, so you don't have to watch me cut them all out. But here we go. I've got 5 here of the little ones. And we are going to get all of our petals shaped, and then we'll put them all together. So starting with these little ones, we're going to take 2, and what you're going to do is put your thumbs kind of down here. You can see where the base, and again, the creping is all running this way on my petal. This is like the base where it's going to attach to the stem. I'm going to put my thumbs kind of down there towards the bottom, and I'm going to pull and just kind of make a little cup shape. This is going to be like the inside of our rose, if you can kind of see that shape like that. And I'm going to do 2 that way. So I've got 2 pieces that are kind of cupped around, and I'm not stretching up at the top of the petal so that it'll stay kind of together like that. All right, then I've got 3 of these little ones left. Now with these 3, what I'm going to do is take my fingernail, and I'm like, let's see, like a 1/2 centimeter in from the top edge along here. Again, my creping's going this way. I'm going to just kind of bend it back. I'm almost making a line along there, so that it's bending. And then I'm going to do that same kind of cupping shape so that now it's this petal is kind of cupped in the middle and then bending back along the top. All right, so I'm going to do that to all three of these. So going along the top, bending backwards, and then stretching in the middle so that you've got a nice little rose petal shape there. All right, and this last one. Bend back the top, cup the bottom. There we go. We've got three of those. All right, and then we've got these middle. I've got four of this middle-sized petal. Now what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to take the dowel and I'm going to go off, again my creping is going up and down here. I'm going to go off to the side right here and I am going to wrap this paper right on around. And the great thing about this paper, it's really sturdy. You can't hurt it very easily. And if you do, just cut out another one. So I've really twisted that back there. I'm gonna stretch this out. I'm gonna kind of mess with it with my fingers. I'm doing a little bit of that same cupping shape that we did before. And so I've got this fun petal shape. So I'm going to do that some more. You can use the dowel on both sides and kind of make it more of a pointy shape. Stretch it out. One more of these middle size petals. And just take as long as you need to on these petals to make them look the way you want. They will really sometimes look very realistic if you really spend some time moving them around. All right, so that's my middle size. And then I've got these 4 big size petals. These are the outside of our rose. I'm going to do the same thing. Put some good curl on those edges. And then stretch them out really nice. All right, have one more petal to go. Okay, got all the petals set. So now we need our thicker wire here. And again, this was 18 gauge, probably, maybe 20, but it's pretty sturdy wire. And I think I'll wait for my pipe cleaner for a second. All right, so I've got a cotton ball here. I don't need this whole cotton ball to make the inside of my rose, so I'm just going to take about half of that thing. And I am going to put a little dab of hot glue here on the end. This is where we have to be careful not to burn ourselves. All right, I'm going to stick this wire right down into that hot glue and just kind of pinch it. So we've got a wire with a blob of cotton on the end. Just like that. Okay, now we first need our 2 petals that we did not curl the ends. So these are the ones that kind of tuck in. This is going to make this center here of our flower, and it actually makes a really nice little rosebud too. So if you want to make an arrangement with some open roses and some closed rosebuds, this looks really nice like this. Okay, so I'm going to hold my petal open. This is where that little base end was, and I'm going to put some hot glue along the base and kind of up the sides a little bit. Again, watch your fingers. I'm going to stick the cotton ball right in the center, and I'm going to pull the sides in so that the end is kind of pointy. And then I'm going to pull this around the wire as well. I'm going to add a little more glue up here because I really want this to tuck over so that we can't see in very easily to see the cotton down inside there. All right, so now I've got 1 petal on there. Now I've still got some cotton over here on this side, so that's where I'm going to take this other petal. And same idea, some hot glue all along that bottom there. And then I'll put this on that opposite side that still had some exposed cotton. And this one won't be quite as tight. It's the next little petal out. In fact, you can kind of take this edge and kind of curl it back a little bit. So it's this first petal where that's just kind of starting to unfurl there a little bit. All right. So you can see that would already be a nice little rosebud if you wanted to have that in with your open roses. All right, now we've got 3 more of this size that are have the end folded over a little bit. So I'm going to just put glue right here on this one side and not up the other side. So just the last little bit down here on that one side. Now I'm going to take this, and this is where roses are kind of neat because you can just kind of, this is your own rose and this, just put it where you want it. I'm going to put this so that this petal kind of comes around over here and is like it's kind of like it's spiraling, like each one will spiral around, if that makes sense. So there is that first one. Now this, because I only put the glue on the one side, it can open up like this. And that's handy because we're going to do this again. Glue only on this side of this petal. And I'm going to tuck it in here a little bit so it's going to overlap. And then I'm going to glue that down in there. And then this first petal that was hanging out, I'm going to put a little more glue on this guy right there and tack it to the most recent petal. So we're kind of tucking one end out, and then the next one will go over top our next petal. So here's that third petal. I put glue along this edge here again, one side. Open up that little spot and tuck that in there. And now this one should come right around to that first one. And I'm going to put a little glue and tack it onto that first petal. Tack this one down. All right, so now we've got our 2 inside petals, and then our 3 that are kind of spiraling around each other. And this also makes a really nice little bud if you just wanted to leave it like that. All right, next we have the 4 middle-sized petals. So we are just going to kind of keep going around and making our rose bigger and bigger. And you can always do more petals in each of these sections than the 5 and the 4. You could make a whole rose out of that smallest size petal if you wanted to. All right, so I'm going to put glue just kind of at the bottom of this middle-sized petal, and I'm going to find a nice place. You kind of want it to be halfway, you know, where 2 petals before came together. Now I've got this one kind of in that spot there, and I'm going to stretch it and move it where you want it, where it looks best. Go on to our next petal. Same, little bit of glue down there across the bottom. And again, you can use regular craft glue. You just are going to need to hold it each time you put a petal on. You'll need to hold it longer. All right, so I've just gone around a little bit further and put that petal on. Here's another one. Spiraling them out. And if your rose is looking kind of wonky, especially if it's your first rose that you're ever making, don't worry about it. They're all roses look different, and they all sometimes roses look a little lopsided or a little bit weird, and that's just fine. All right, now we are ready for the last 4 petals. So these are bigger. Same thing here. I'm going to put a little bit of glue down there at the bottom. I'm going to find, it looks like it's kind of empty on this side, and I'm going to put this on here. You can kind of scrunch your petal if you don't want it to cover a whole big huge side. I kind of stretch that around a little bit more. All right. Here's our next one here. And I'm going to keep going right around. Just kind of stretch those petals wherever you want them to go. Okay. This one. And then we're going to put one more right in this last spot. Put our glue in there. Last petal in position. And if it looks like your rose still has a really empty spot or it's really lopsided, go ahead and make a few more petals and just keep going around until it's how you want it to be. All right, there's our rose. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is make the, what are they, sepals? Right around here. Okay, so I've got a piece of green crepe paper that I've cut out here. And this is about, it's about 3 inches long. And it's a little over 1 inch wide. What I'm going to do is fold this in half just because that's going to make it easier to cut. And I'm going to cut some triangle-y shapes. These don't have to be really, you don't have to be really particular about these, but I'm just going to kind of make some little triangles here to go around the base of my flower. And I am going to twist each of these between my fingers. It just makes it look a little more realistic. And then I'm going to pull the bottom here to make sure that I've got enough space to go all the way around my flower. Okay. Now I am going to put a little row of hot glue right along here at the base of these. And again, you can use craft glue, it's fine. All right, I'm gonna lay my rose, the base of it, right along on here. And I'm gonna pull this around and scrunch it into position so that it's right there around that wire. You can kind of twist and bend these however you want them to go. Okay, I'm going to take my pipe cleaner and I'm going to put it right in there with the wire a little bit. All right. I'm now going to take my floral tape. I'm going to put a little dab of glue here because that helps to hold it. Floral tape is a little tricky to work with if you haven't used it before. To get it to stick to itself, you need to pull it and stretch it as you go. So this takes a little bit of practice to get the right idea. But, oops, and I just ripped it a little bit. But you pull, I'm keeping this really tight and I'm pulling as I go along and it will stick to itself all the way down. I'm going to cut off that pipe cleaner. All right. So that gave us a stem. You can always put more pipe cleaners in there or more wires because it's not really as thick as an actual rose would be. All right, now we're going to make some quick leaves to go with this, and I have cut out some squares of green crepe paper, and these are, I was using the machine lines, which is 2 inches. So I was cutting out a square that went 2 inches by about 2 inches. And so the creping is going this way on these little pieces. Now what I'm going to do is cut these on the diagonal. All right, so I'm going to turn them to make like a diamond shape. And I'm going to cut right across all. I've got 3 of these together, 3 of these squares, because I'm going to make 3 leaves. After I've cut them on the diagonal, I'm going to flip these, and that's going to give me the same square, but now I've got creping going this way and creping going this way, which will make a really nice leaf pattern for us. So each of these little sets will make 1 leaf. All right, so now I've got this wire that's, I think it was 24 gauge wire. It's really pretty bendy. It just makes it easier to do these leaves. Now I am going to cut, this is about 3 inches, and then I'm going to cut another about 3 inches, and then I've got this big long piece that's left, and these are going to be the 3 pieces for the 3 leaves. Okay, so here are my 2 pieces. Again, the creping is going like this, like a V. So I'm going to take my hot glue, and again, craft glue works fine. It's actually a little bit easier in this case. I'm going to make a little bead all the way down, and I am going to put this in here. I'm going to roll it a little bit, this wire, so that it gets glue on both sides. I'm going to take my other half, and I'm going to squish that down really good, being careful not to burn myself, of course, so that now I have a little diamond shape here. Creping and crepe, it's going like a V. So we've got a nice little leaf shape. You can use a pattern if you want to make yourself a pattern, but I just kind of go up the side here and then I cut. You're not going to want to cut over your wire, so make sure your wire didn't go to the end. And then I'm just going to kind of cut little leaf shape out. So here's my little leaf, and you can kind of bend it a little bit and make it look, kind of pull that crepe paper cute little leaf. All right, so I'll do that twice more. Glue along, put my wire in there, and I'm going to move it around so that it gets glue on all the sides. Stick that other side down really good. Glued it right to my table. I do that every time. All right, and I'm going to get this last one glued as well. Push that down really good. All right, I'm going to cut this in a leaf shape. Peel this off my table. All right, now we just need to put some floral tape on these and we will be done. I'm going to do these little ones first, and I'm going to put a little dab of glue up at the top. Again, to just catch that on there. All right, wrap that around really good. Other little leaf. All right, and the leaf with the bigger stem. That little hot glue strings flying all over the place. All right, I'm going to wrap this down a little ways here, and then I'm going to take these other two and I'm going to just put them right there next to the big wire. Wrap this floral tape around nice and securely. Go back up a little bit to get that again. Okay. I'm going to cut off the extra wire. Okay, and now I am going to spread out my leaves. Give them a little tug to make them look pretty. And then I'm going to bend my blossom a little bit. I'm going to put this leaf right in here next to the flower. And more floral tape. Let's really get that on there good. All right, and then just kind of bend that any way you like. There you go, crepe paper rose.